I'm a firm believer that if you're not making noise with your work and you got to call agents and people to represent you, then your work is not.
What's your advice to people on getting representation, whether it's for film, screenwriting, acting?
Well, I think that having representation and how it comes to you and the need for it is, they're separate. You have to keep them separate. I think if you're an actor, you need it. It's an agent's job is to go through the breakdowns and submit you for roles to get you taped auditions or in the room. I mean, an actor can't act without people knowing they exist. I think that cinematographers, that's very important too. I think agents can be very beneficial to a cinematographer's career. By and large, agents sit around and wait for the phone to ring. I mean, let's call it like it is. The days of agents reading scripts, taking 20 or 30 home a weekend and discovering new property and calling an actor and saying, I just read something you've got to read. Let's call the producers and tell them you want to do this. You know, a lot of agents wait for the phone to ring. And I think that when writers, directors, and filmmakers ask about getting representation, I'm a firm believer that you're either chasing it or it's chasing you. And I talk about this a lot in the book. I have a big chunk of it about representation and being a filmmaker. And, you know, I'm a firm believer that if you're not making noise with your work and you got to call agents and people to represent you, then your work is not going to be something that they're going to have a real easy time getting behind and selling. And I know that's very harsh to say. Look, I've been through 100 agents and managers, and I've never gotten a job from one, not one. And I've been with some big agencies and big managers, and maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm just horrible and unsellable. But I get asked a lot from young writers who may have had a short film made, or producers who are trying to, you know, sell what they're doing to a bigger scale. And, you know, things today, especially with the changes in our industry in the last few years, agencies that are respectable and real, they're kind of signing people by committee now. It's not hip pocketing. You know, the days of an agent taking somebody kind of off the grid in their back pocket and trying to do something with that is really frowned upon, and is something that is really not done as much anymore, if at all. So when you go in with a resume and a body of work that you might have, and try to get representation, you have to, you know, they're going to check with everybody from the janitor to the parking attendant to make sure if they should sign you or not. It's not just somebody falling in love with you, and unless it's somebody who runs a boutique on their own, that they are the judge, jury, and executioner. But I have found that when you seek out representation and you have to kind of do a tap dance to get them to want to get behind your work and your abilities, I always say, you know, let's see where that relationship is in 6 months. They usually don't bear much fruit, and that's, you know, it's unfortunate. It's hard to get representation as a writer, as a producer, and as a director in this town. That said, it is not hard to create original content that, if it's good enough, can get the attention of a respectable agent or manager. You know, again, we have endless resources for so cheap as filmmakers, even student filmmakers. You know, you can get a DSLR, you can get actors, and again, don't hire your cousin and your mother to be in them. Go to acting schools and call the people that run these acting schools and say, I'm making a short, I'm doing a spec commercial, give me some good talent. There are people out there that actually know how to act that you can get, and put stuff together. If you know, if your hurdle is, well, I can't get anything done because I can't get any money, or I can't get anything done because nobody's behind me, then you have to create the content. And if you don't have the content created, how are people going to know if you're worthy of being represented or not? I'm not trying to discourage anybody from trying to get representation, and I'm sure there are those wonderful relationships where the artist has banged down the door enough times and the agent finally said, okay, I'll rep you, and it's gone well. There are those exceptions, but by and large, the majority of the time, you know, first-time writers, and I say first-time writers as I finished a screenplay or I have a book on Amazon, where's my agent? It doesn't work that way. And if it does, you know, let's see how that went after 6 months. I just don't think that when you have to try to convince somebody to represent you, that's a passion. I think when a true agent or manager gets behind somebody, I think they have to be passionate about them. I think they have to be, they're working for the artist, and they only get paid on commission. And who are they going to spend their days banging down the doors for? And if you're an actor, I really believe you need an agent. But talking about the filmmaker side, it's tough to get representation. And I often tell filmmakers, don't spin your wheels and burn your calories trying to get an agent. Just the amount of time you're trying to burn the phones to find an agent, you should be shooting something that's going to make an agent say, holy shit, I saw this on YouTube. I saw this on Vimeo. I saw this at a film festival. Or at least if you are going to bang on those doors, you should have 3 or 4 short films or something. I know a very successful commercial director who's been at the top of the game for many years. And I asked him once, I said, how did you get in the game? You didn't come from film school. You didn't have parents that could, he said, hey man, I got a camera. I got friends who could act. I got guys who can hold sound. And I knew how to direct. I knew how to cut. And I went out and I started doing spec commercials. Like he did Doritos, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. He would just grab product and do these incredible, how like Doritos would have these contests where, create your own campaign and maybe we'll use it. He would just do that for everything. He would do cars. Like if his mom got a new BMW, mom, let me make a car commercial for BMW. And this guy had like 20 or 30 commercials and they all looked like really big commercials. And he was able to go in and say, this is what I can do. This is who you're representing. Keep in mind, when you go to an agent, they need content to sell you because they're going to make phone calls or emails on your behalf. And the decision makers are going to say, great, let me see their work. And if you don't have work, the agent's job, you're kind of kneecapping the agent going in because they're going to come to you and say, you got to get me content. And it can't be looked at as a chicken or egg type thing. That's an excuse. The filmmaker, the artist has to get out there and create the content. Now, if you're a writer, I'm a firm believer that you may excel or be passionate about writing one thing. I think it's important if you're unknown to really stretch and try to get 3 or 4 spec scripts done in different genres, because there are companies that are just making thrillers that may read your script that an agent can take to somebody like Mar Vista and say, hey, you're doing a bunch of stuff for Lifetime. Look at this. If the agent can get it in the room, it'll get a look. But there's also companies that only do horror. There's companies like Hallmark that only do romantic comedies or whatever those things are called. And if you're a writer that's looking to get representation, the agent is going to want and need as much ammunition as possible. You have to make their job easy. And if you give them 3 or 4 different, a palette of different things, they're going to be able to circulate 3 or 4 different scripts and maybe 15 or 20 different companies. Think about what the odds have just come of you not only getting somebody in your corner to represent you, but getting seen and getting a reputation. A wonderful woman I met a year and a half ago at a webinar, right when COVID started. Brilliant writer. She writes these beautiful romantic little, films that are just Hallmark. And she got a script read and she got a green light and she got the film produced, and now she's a working writer. And we talked about it and she was like, oh my God, I got genres in everything. This woman was pushing a genre, but when it came time to getting looked at and getting representation, she had a whole plethora of stuff to give to them and say, look, I can write anything. And that's what she's doing now. And you have to, I think too many of us sit around and wait for the phone to ring or the door to get knocked on or somebody to know somebody. You have to be so proactive on creating content to get people excited about what you do. I go back to, we talk about films like Napoleon Dynamite started as a short, Saw was a short, Sling Blade was a short, there's so many of those films, even Whiplash was a short. They obviously did something right to get the attention and get these things made into major motion pictures. That hasn't changed. People forget that those 4 great films started from humble beginnings. I mean, Napoleon Dynamite, the short, was in black and white, for crying out loud. I mean, it's horrible, but it was great. But it was so bad it was good, right? But that's how we have to think as filmmakers. James Wan did it brilliantly with his short for Saw. I mean, I encourage everybody, go on YouTube, find these films. They're all there. They're all there. You can find these shorts and you will see where Billy Bob Thornton got Sling Blade from. You will see where, Napoleon Dynamite and Whiplash all came from, because they're all there, and they all started because somebody said, screw it, I'm going to do it. And that's what I tell people they need to do.
So maybe we are too much in this mindset of like, I need to have my people do it. Oh wait, I don't have people. I need to get people.
I need to get people.
I'm not successful until I have people, and we're not willing to say, wait a minute, I'm not there yet.
A lot of people have a hard time saying I'm not there yet, and that's a really good point, Karen. We all have to be able to say we're not there yet and truly identify and accept when we're not and get over that next hump. I mean, I deal with a lot of actors that, when we do workshops and do acting class, work, and it's also, I need a team. You need a team for what? You've had an agent for 2 years. You go out on 15 auditions a week. You're not booking. You need to better the craft. Did you ever think maybe you're just not good in the room? Did you ever think maybe you need to study better, and look at the reel, and half the time they're not off book and they've had the work for 3 days and you're reading one scene. You're not off book yet. These are the kind of things that really will impact an actor from getting past an audition. And it's very hard for artists. We are so myopic. We are so self-centered anyway. It's in our nature. We're very selfish people, but when it comes to getting to the next level, it's very, very rare that somebody can look and say, it's me. I need to get off my butt and create content. I need to get into acting class 2 or 3 nights a week. I need to go take a class in basic lighting if I really want to be a cinematographer or a director. I need to understand lenses. I need to, I tell everybody who wants to write, produce, direct, and get in the edit bay. That's where you're going to learn it more than anything, because you're going to fix other people's mistakes. You're going to learn what ends up on a cutting room floor. You're going to realize the amount of time you waste on a set. And what that'll do is it'll better you when you make your short films, and it'll better you when writing scripts. I mean, it's amazing how many writers have never been in the edit bay. I think that's the most important place. There are 3 scripts. There's the one you write, the one that's shot, and the one that's cut. And if you can bridge the gap between the one that's written and the one that's released, boy, it's a helpful tool. And I know writers are going to bash me for saying that, but get your butt in the edit bay and realize what you write and how it affects, production costs and, putting a certain amount of characters in a certain scene. And you got to remember, you got to cover all that, get multiple takes on every actor, and what that does to production. There's a lot of good, we talk about this in other webinars I've done, and, the writer needs to understand a production mindset, because there are some great scripts out there that don't get read past 20 or 30 pages, and it's because they don't understand it from a producerial view, where you really have to think about when you write a script. You can say, well, it shouldn't be that expensive. It just takes place in a flat in New York, and well, okay, how many people are in it? How many different locations? What is your logistics here? And you have to think of who you're going after realistically to produce it, and does it fit in what they're doing? It's about finding that connection with a producer with your written word, but also kind of going back to what you said, making an agent's job easier. If you have an agent that isn't WME or CAA level, that's not going to kick down doors and get you to every studio. You got to realize the level of the agent or manager you're working with and where they have the ability to get you. Now, if you are able to work with somebody and somebody is showing interest in working with you, I think it's very important you have that talk early on, is what is your ability to get me through the door? What are the studios, networks, production shingles, whatever they call them, where can you get my stuff read? So that artist, that writer can understand, okay, this manager can only get me in a Hallmark. So they need to start thinking about, okay, let me get the stuff together for you that's going to give you the path of least resistance. Start getting my stuff to you that you can go to Hallmark with. Or is it Lifetime? Let me get you some thrillers. Let me get you some, husband came out of jail, wants to see his kid scripts. Let me give you some of those. And that's important. It's not just about being a good writer. It's about finding a match and finding out who your potential representatives have the ability or juice to get to. So the work that you submit to them, it resonates with the people that it's ultimately going to get read by. Because if you have a great script and the people that are reading it have no business making a film like that or no interest in making a story like that, it doesn't matter. It's just wasted time.
What if someone says, though, that I'm not a DIY person like that? I want my, I'm kind of grew up with staff and different things, so I need to have my people do this.
Well, if you've grown up with staff, you should be able to write checks. So write your check and go make a movie. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I'm sorry. But yeah, I think you're in the wrong business. I mean, it's very rare that somebody can sit in a basement and just crank out scripts, and the day is going to come where that script is read by, the right agent or the right assistant to an actor. And I mean, there's always the lottery. I mean, people win the lottery.
It's true.
You know, I think the odds are about the same. But I think you need to, if you're not DIY and you need people and you need a staff, then what I think you need to do is find other people that are needing a staff, but one of them has a camera, and one of them is an actor, and one of them may be an editor, and work together. We talked earlier about people working together and building something special, and building a team, everybody having a common goal, you know, to get to the next level. And that's what I tell a lot of writers. I said, you know, the cool thing about being a writer is you don't need anybody to tell you to go to work. You really have the only job in this industry that you may not get paid yet or at all, but nobody can tell you you can't work right now. You have the ability to roll out of bed, turn on a light at 2 a.m. and write. And that's a beautiful thing, because an actor is not going to be able to get in front of a camera and tap dance unless there's a script. Director doesn't have anything to direct unless there's a script. There's nothing to produce without a script. The writers are essential. I mean, it's so important. I mean, it's an incredible position to be in. If you're not able to be a writer, producer, director, editor, or filmmaker, and all your focus is on writing, then you need to get out more, and you need to find people of like mind that have those skill sets or the materials to get your product seen. It's not gonna, sitting in a PDF on an external hard drive or, you know, somewhere on your computer is not going to get it made. It's about getting it with people. And I'm very big, you know, a lot of people like to talk about pitch decks and proof of concept. Some of the most impressive things I've seen are when people go out and shoot a scene or 2 or 3. To me, that's a real pitch deck. That's a proof of concept. I don't want to see papers and comps and actors you're never going to acquire on your proof of, you know, your pitch deck. I want to see you go out and shoot a scene for your film with comparable, qualified people and people that are passionate about it. And I think some of those true POCs that I've seen, they knock me out of my seat. I can't believe what people are putting together these days. And I mean for nothing, no money. There's no excuse.